Arsenal have finally got their man, with Martin Zubimendi set to join the club with a 50 mil release clause being bought in the summer, which looks to complete Arsenal's midfield rebuild. Now, as many of you will know, Martin Zubimendi has been a player of interest for many years for many top clubs. Liverpool, Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Barcelona and Real Madrid have all been linked in the past, but he has been Arsenal's long-term target, trying to secure a move for him for over 18 months now, and it looks like it is finally happened, with the big news releasing just yesterday. Now, overall, Martin Zubimendi is the best deep lying playmaker on the market available and will definitely excel Arsenal's midfield in many ways. Now, the first reason why Martin Zubimendi is just so talented and so good is because he lets things tick along in the midfield. With someone of his stature, he is often seen as someone very comfortable on the ball in retained possession, but also being pressed, and it's almost impossible to get the ball off him. He makes things look so simple with his quick 1-2 passing, but also how he controls the ball, allowing pressure to hit him and using that to be able to move the ball past them. It is something that makes him so effective in that midfield. Now, despite this, a lot of people always refer to Zubimendi as a sidewards passer, and he does do a lot of passes towards the side because he lets things tick along, but actually he is such a much more passer than that. He does love passing the ball forward quite a lot and has a good amount of progressive passes per 90, in which he does get his forwards into play. Something that Zubimendi is really good at is passing between the lines, with usually a striker or a midfielder coming deeper to receive the ball and play off him. He really works better with these sort of movements, which I do think will be very applicable to Arsenal. And he is so good at being press resistant, where 2-3 players are on him, he can pass the ball through to get Arsenal on the break, which is going to be key for baiting teams in and then playing through them on the transition. Now, he's also very good at doing this from deeper positions. Real Sociedad for the last few years have actually built up through Zubimendi, where he will come short with the goalkeeper and he'll even turn a defender that is on him quickly, but usually if given space he can pass the ball out wide quite easily, switching the play. Now, this is something that we've seen Arsenal do before with Jorginho. Jorginho is probably the biggest compliment to Zubimendi within the Arsenal team, as he has that deep line playmaking ability where he can pick out balls at any stretch, and the pass completion from Zubimendi in any stretch of passing is really good, and he makes a lot of passes and involvement in a game, which is exactly what you want Jorginho doing as well. Now, one of the reasons why he is so much better than a lot of players on the market though is his mobility. If you look at his heat map from this season, he has almost been everywhere. You know, he could pick the ball up in defensive positions, but he is running around left, right and anywhere through that centre, picking the ball up and anchoring whenever needed. As you can see, there's not a lot of heat map going forward, and that is because he often gives the ball to more creative midfielders to actually do the end product work, which does mean good things for Arsenal. We have seen so many problems before with Martin Odegaard having to come deeper to pick up the ball, and although Odegaard is actually quite a good creator from deeper, and I think is probably his best role, it has so many issues for Arsenal because they rely a lot on players to get up there. This includes people like Havertz also coming quite deep when he's playing up front to receive the ball, and he's just not in the box when Arsenal want to do them deliveries in the ball. Zubimendi will change that quite a lot. He can be a person that builds up by himself defensively and allows other players to work off him, maybe a fullback coming in with him, or even Declan Rice, who could work and make them runs, progressive runs in there. And that is how effective Zubimendi can be on the ball, I think, especially for Arsenal. But it's not just that, his off the ball work is also key in his involvement. His tackle numbers, his clearance numbers, his aerials won are all massive. This guy is so effective at being physical when he needs to and always having the right timing. Something that makes him incredibly good at anticipation is how he scans the area. He is one of the best scanners in a midfield position and often is fully aware of what's going on around him, which makes him so effective in a tackle, and his timings, because he won't really rush into things unless he knows the situation that he needs to, and often takes the ball quite subtly off players, which is very effective. Although his tackle numbers all around the pitch are really good, he actually makes 0.4 tackles per 90 from the attacking third. This is another great feature for him. He is so good at pressing and being on that last man that he will actually give Arsenal a lot more pressure than they already have, because he is willing to go forward to make the balls up. This is something we've seen a lot of big teams do traditionally now, where they want to press teams up the field and get their midfielders even further up and their defenders even further up, because it closes the gaps between the other team being able to pick the ball up and run through. Obviously, this is a risky situation situation. If teams bait you in and play over the top, there could be situations where there's a 3-on-3 or 4-on-3. But Zubimendi is so good at doing this that it becomes very vital in his play. This is one of the big reasons I think Arsenal have signed him, so they can keep the other teams penned in, so they will have to go long, and because of the physicality that Arsenal have, they should be able to win aerial duels and second balls, so they should be able to get sustained possession on the ball the whole time with Zubimendi in there. And Zubimendi isn't a negative player when he picks up the ball in these positions. When he wins the ball up even high up the pitch, he loves going on a little bit of a run for the team. He actually has a successful take on percentage of 70% almost, which is really impressive. Now, he doesn't do the most take ons per 90, you don't expect him to, but he has that ability to carry the ball through into the final third or win the ball high up and carry it into the box, which allow the players around him to work off him and just get better in that metric. This will be something that you may see him work with Rice for, because they might work in different channels, but ultimately it means that Arsenal can rely on Zubimendi to do a lot of the work that they need to, and as an all-round player in the midfield, he will do everything that they need to give them more possession. Oh, and he also has a 66% aerial win percentage, which is of course going to be big for Arteta despite only being 5'11". Now, the main thing about Zubimendi is when he joins Arsenal, he will give them a lot of flexibility in midfield. We've seen a lot of people talk about, well, why is he coming in? Is it going to make Arsenal quite negative? But I actually think it's the opposite. It makes Arsenal quite unpredictable in the midfield. First of all, what you probably will see him start with when he joins is that obviously double pivot with Declan Rice. You expect Arsenal to probably build up in their old shape that they did, that saw them have so much success at the start of 2024, and will probably continue with this box midfield sort of setup where maybe Havertz is up front or maybe another striker, working with Odegaard and keeping tight towards each other with Zubimendi and Rice mopping up. And the mobility of Zubimendi and Rice alone will make sure that they covered most of that midfield and the defence. That will surely give Odegaard a lot more free ability in actually moving into the attacking areas. What it also means, I do think that it makes Arsenal have to buy a different players. I think Arsenal will have to change the left-hand side in order for that to work, i.e. you'll probably see Calafiori even go more attacking, or you might see Arsenal buy a more wing-backy type player that can go on the overlaps a lot, which will give Arsenal a lot more width in that way, because then you can have Martinelli also come inside to work with off that. So that's something to think about. But it also allows for intricate situations where Arsenal don't have to use a double pivot and on the ball can transition into their normal setup. We can have a situation where even fullback will invert into the middle to play alongside Zubimendi and can actually operate them half channels if needed to be, and this could allow Rice to move back in that left centre mid spot, which I know a lot of people aren't going to like. His progressive runs are much down from last year, but we'll talk about that another time. With the freedom of not having to run back all the time, because Zubimendi's got a lot more mobility than the other defensive midfielders that Arsenal have right now. And in a sense, this also means that the fullbacks don't actually have to be a part of the 5 attack. We might see a situation where the 5 attack is the 2 midfielders and the obviously 3 going forward, and then the others can act as that 6th man or that underlap and run if they needed to be, with Zubimendi covering all them runs, which I think is really good. But it also changes other dynamics. You might see Arsenal move Odegaard a little bit more centrally if there's a double pivot there supporting him, if we went back to that other system. And obviously this may mean Arsenal could sign a potential 10 in the future. I think if you're going to do that, you might have to. But it also allows the occupying of Waneri to come into that position, and then maybe in the future Max Dowman when obviously he's a lot older. He is so young right now. And it also allows other quite interesting things to happen. I think you can also see Arsenal be able to bring more physicality when needed. Marino can come in. He's obviously worked with Zubimendi and Odegaard before, and there's games where you might need a little bit more technical ability, so you expect Miles Skelly to probably invert into left back and give that sort of quarterback style player for Arsenal with a deep pass in that left half channel, giving us much more balance. Now, overall, I think it's going to do a lot of wonders for Arsenal's midfield. I do think Arsenal potentially should buy another midfielder, a young one, because I do think the left half space particularly might need a little bit of improvement. Maybe Alberto Moreno would be a brilliant signing for that, I believe. But it does fix a lot of problems that Arsenal were going to have, which have now been sorted. It makes Arsenal's midfield a lot more balanced, I think, and I do think it allows Arsenal to make the opportunity to sign an attacking midfielder or more creative players to even help the creativity even more. before. And it's perfect because obviously we all know Jorginho and Partey's contracts come up at the end of the season and they are going to leave the club. It's been well reported. Obviously it's a lot of wages off the bill, which we needed. And signing Zubimendi, which won't be on that much money a week, I could guess, I think it is a brilliant deal for £51 million. It is definitely a bargain in that sense. But honestly, I do not think this is the end of Arsenal's transfer business, because this signing I think just moves more into the direction of different players coming in, but it is still a brilliant signing nonetheless. Now, on a personal note, this has been a long time coming of Zubimendi trying to join Arsenal. I made a video over a year ago now about his potential signing, and it just felt like he was never really going to come because he never wanted to leave Sociedad. So this is a major coup, I think, for all the Arsenal fans. I can understand people's negativity as it is another midfielder, but it was a situation where we had to solve it anyway, and we got the best player on the market, so I'll always take that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.